and welcome to another episode of Anniversary Edition. Today we are going to be talking about Forrest Gump, which celebrates its 25th anniversary this year. As always, we're going to spoil the film, so go away and watch it and then come back and have a little listen. I'm Sophie, and I am here today with Adam.
Hey.
Hey, and Tom.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good.
I'm good, thanks.
Great.
You?
Yeah, doing fine.
Good. So, this is a 1994 American drama, so directed by Robert Zemeckis. And I've just done a little teeny tiny synopsis. So we join the seemingly ordinary Forrest Gump as he begins retelling his life story to a stranger whilst waiting for a bus. But it turns out he has lived a rather extraordinary life.
Nice.
Sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
Covers most of the movie right there.
Yeah.
pretty much. You don't need to watch it. There you go.
Yeah.
Just listen to that and you can be like, yeah, I've seen Forrest.
Yeah.
So, top line thoughts. I like this film.
You like this film?
I do, yeah. I remember feeling drained after I watched it, like when I was younger.
Right.
But rewatching it, yeah, I like this film. I think Tom Hanks is great. Adam, how about you? What do you reckon? Top line.
I always thought that Forrest Gump was kind of a feel-good movie, but now I realise it's kind of a life is chaos,
kind of not.
maybe feel-bad movie. Mm-hmm. I do think the film is good.
Okay.
Definitely shows you some fun takes on a lot of great scenes in 20th century US history.
Yeah.
But boy, they put some of the characters through the ringer, huh?
Yeah. It's a super intense watch. Tom?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Oh. Okay.
I think yes and no.
Okay.
I kind of like it and I kind of don't. It's one of those things where if you give me the top line concept of the film,
Yep.
I'm like, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Then I watch the film and I'm like, that's kind of its downfall in a way. Because the more he appears in these key moments, the less believable it becomes, the more far-fetched it becomes, the more fantastic it becomes, and the less engaged you get with it. And it's kind of like, I kind of like, it's one of those things that it succeeds and fails on the same point for me.
It's kind of a Big Fish moment. Do you remember that movie?
See, I've never seen the end of that movie.
So the idea is it's a man lying in bed and he tells these fantastical stories about his life.
Right.
And no one in his family believes him. He's known as like a
right, I see.
teller of tall tales.
Yeah.
And then at his funeral, all these people
turn up
from his life, and he does exaggerate slightly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly how.
Yeah, I can see how that's a similar sort of vibe.
But yeah, maybe he knew Siamese twins, and instead he just knows like identical twins who are always together.
Yeah.
For example,
Right, okay.
I'm not sure that's exactly how it worked, but he knew a giant, and it was just a very, very, very tall man, like one of those freakishly tall people. So it kind of reminds me of that. Like if I was sat down on the bench next to Forrest Gump and he told me all that. Yeah. Sure, he's got his photo on the front cover, so maybe he's a successful shrimping man.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't believe any of the other stuff.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially given how obviously, mentally challenged he is.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, look, I mean, is it just one guy, I think, that gets up and is like, oh yeah, sure, you're a billionaire.
Yeah, I think there is only one person who doesn't seem to believe him. I think the others all kind of get wrapped up in the stories. I don't know if maybe one other's a bit like, oh, that's lovely, but yeah,
That's
it
nice.
kind of
I'm leaving.
Yeah. I don't know. I think everyone does seem to believe him.
And it's weird because I'd remembered as well, like in my head, which obviously didn't happen, that loads of people then gather around the bus stop to listen to him, which I've clearly seen from somewhere else and just put into that film and been like, oh yeah, because I remember.
Well, that's the film you watched in an alternate timeline and you have a shared memory across it. What's that called?
Wow.
I have no
idea.
When people remember different things, like they remember different Ford logos, one has a little twirl in the F, and other people don't remember that. What's
It's
it
alternate
called?
reality?
Yeah, people have... I'm going to look this up. Continue talking.
Listeners, let us know.
It's weird because I like this film. I remember I think this is only the second time I've seen it, maybe third.
Okay.
First time I saw it would have been
The Mandela Effect.
Mandela Effect. Okay.
Remember that? Because so many people thought that Nelson Mandela died in jail.
That's right. Yeah,
and he didn't.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. No, I know what you're. I know what you're talking about. Yeah. So I kind of would have seen it on VHS,
Okay.
and for some reason I read the book as well.
Oh, because the book's really different to the film.
It's not that different. There's more happens. So he becomes an astronaut, goes into space.
Whoa.
He becomes a wrestler.
How would he become an astronaut?
I think it's a case of
Send a normal guy, the Homer Simpson.
Yeah,
plot line.
yeah. Essentially, yeah.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I would have read this book when I was 14, so
Yeah.
I can't really remember it.
Sure.
But yeah, so I think I probably read the book before I watched the film, and I think the book came free on a film magazine. I think it might have been on came with Empire or Total Film or something like that. Yeah, so I'm kind of unsure as to why I read the book and why I watched the film. Aside from the fact that
Do you love Tom Hanks?
Well, not particularly at that time.
Okay.
I mean, I'd seen Big.
It was a very hype movie.
It was.
It was very, very hyped.
And it's long as well. Like it's
2 hours
not
20.
an easy watch. You know, you couldn't just sort of chuck it on and
It feels slightly longer than it is.
It
Yeah.
does. And like, because I remember it in my head thinking
to discredit.
No, not at all. But I just thought it was over 3 hours.
Yeah, I think the reason you feel that way is because it covers so much ground. Like, there's so many
There are a lot
environments.
of acts in this movie.
Yeah, you know, you've got
Yeah.
a romance story, you've got a war story,
Yep.
you've got
Yeah.
you know, like overcoming adversity story, you've got all of the running stuff.
And they're
you've-
not just
it's-
like two scenes.
No.
It's, as you say, they're like proper contained little stories
Yeah.
within a bigger
Yeah.
story
Yeah.
arc. And yeah,
Like a portmanteau
as you
film
say, the
with just
more
one guy.
yeah, but the more integrated into kind of, oh, I just happened to be there when this massive historical thing happened.
Yeah.
I know what you mean in that, like, it does take a little bit away from the believability of,
Yeah.
oh, I'm sat next to this man on a bench.
I kind of feel like maybe if it was like 3 or 4 incidents. I mean, like, for example, the bits that feel the most real, I think, in that terms of things like the Vietnam experience and
definitely.
the shrimping thing.
Yep.
I think
like-
it's handled really well as well,
Yeah.
Vietnam.
I think
Absolutely.
the Vietnam scene is the best
Yes, I
Yeah.
in
do
the
too.
whole film,
Yeah.
to the point where it's actually a pretty damn good Nam movie, full stop. Just
Yeah.
beginning it and ending it where it begins and ends.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it's the things like him showing Elvis to dance, him essentially giving John Lennon the lyrics to
The lyrics.
Imagine, and meeting Kennedy, and like those are the bits that I'm just kind of like, you've kind of thrown those in.
Yeah. There's
And you
just
don't
too
need them.
many,
Yeah.
almost.
Yeah,
But it's interesting from a kind of historical point of view, because I think, I mean, I probably learned a fair amount about American history watching this film.
well, yeah,
Because it's not something that, like, I covered in school. You know, when we were doing history lessons, we didn't learn about, like, contemporary American history.
yeah,
We did, you know, World Wars and the
Yeah.
Tudors
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Victorians, and
We have a lot more history than the Americans, so
That's
don't
true.
beat yourself up
Well,
about
all right, I'll let myself off the hook.
yeah.
But
I guess you're right, because it starts all the way back with the Ku Klux Klan,
Yeah.
which I'd
Yeah.
forgotten about.
and I'd completely forgotten about that. So I was like, what? Was this
Yeah.
edited in the version I saw?
Because I was just like, really, they're gonna do that?
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's
And they,
kind of weird.
they do it.
Yeah.
But when did you first see this?
Well, it would have been on VHS,
VHS
when it came out.
So like,
Yeah,
no,
so 94. So I wouldn't have gone to
okay.
see it in the cinema. Or
Right.
maybe 95,
95
perhaps.
maybe, yeah.
Yeah.
Adam, how about you? When did you first see this?
I would have seen it on TV. I think around then my parents had Sky TV, so we would have
Right.
probably watched it on that.
See, I would have seen this, I think, either on VHS or maybe when it came on television, but it wouldn't have been in 94, I don't think, because
No.
I was too little, really.
Yeah.
To
You
watch
wouldn't,
this.
you wouldn't have wanted to go and see a 2.5 hour Tom
No.
Hanks drama.
No.
No.
So I was probably older when I saw this, because I remember people talking about Forrest Gump, and I was like, I've never seen that film.
Yeah.
So it was obviously like already a cult favourite that
Yeah.
I'd just never seen.
Yeah.
But I think I've probably seen it like 4 or 5 times
Oh, wow.
now. Well, that was maybe the 4th or 5th. But, yeah. I don't know.
So at some point you did really like it, even if you only just like it now.
I mean, I've
You've seen
never
it so
owned
many
it.
times.
I've never had it on DVD or VHS. So I don't know
me either.
how I've seen it that many times.
Probably TV,
But it's probably been on TV and I thought, oh no, I'm going to watch this because I actually really like this film.
Yeah. It is a bit of a weird one. Like, I mean, you sit there and you watch it and you're right. You kind of think of it as this kind of quite a feel-good story, but it's not really.
It's really not.
Sad.
I felt very much like I didn't know what I was supposed to take away from Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
You have Jenny. Jenny's
like
character, such a tragic character.
Really
And it seemed like where Forrest Gump started out his life on the back foot, Jenny very much started out her life on the back foot. The difference was that maybe Forrest's mum loved him so much that she'd have sex with his teachers.
Yeah.
Which I didn't catch when the first time I watched that.
No, that's the thing. So much of this I missed watching it the first time round.
Whereas Jenny didn't have parents who cared for her.
Network.
Everything that went right for Forrest Gump was just luck. And everything that went wrong for Jenny was just luck. And maybe a string of bad decisions.
Yeah. I tell you what it is that puts me off this film, and it's cliche.
Yeah, and it really is.
It's cliche and stereotypes.
Yeah.
And like, I think the reason it's so steeped in cliche and stereotypes is because you get through so much, you have to tell it all very quickly. So you need your audience to cotton on to stuff very fast.
Yeah.
But I think, like, Forrest Gump is a very cliched, like, southern yokel.
Yep.
With low IQ.
Simple, nice guy.
Yeah, Jenny's a very cliched concept of what like an abuse victim is and does with her life.
Yeah.
And then, like, every, even the war bit is very kind of cliched. Lieutenant Dan, and it's just like, that's what I think kind of puts me off it a bit. It just kind of feels like it's very, I don't know.
There's not a lot that surprises you.
Yes.
In terms of characterization.
Yeah. I think that's right. I feel like you've got an interesting concept. You can create an interesting story out of it, but like you said, there's nothing surprising about it. Everything plays out pretty much how you kind of expect it to.
Yeah.
Everybody is who you expect them to be.
Did want Bubba to survive, though.
Yeah.
I know. Oh my goodness, I forgot that he died.
Yeah.
I forgot that he died too. For some reason, I remembered him being on the shrimping boat with.
Me too, because I was
Forrest.
like, oh, he can't die because they do the shrimping thing and they have the restaurant. So I was like, they have the boats, and I was like, oh.
That's
what
I
they do
thought
have restaurants now.
Well, sure. But I couldn't believe, that he died.
Yeah.
It's sad.
Yeah, so that's why I'm a bit kind of about it, because it's kind of, I don't know, it just I have a feeling it's popular because it's in the same way that Shawshank is, but it's not as good a movie.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think it's one of those films that people
if you're not
quotably say, it's like a favourite film because it's,
if you're not
know it.
super into movies, it's a very easy movie to be impressed and get absorbed by.
I mean, it is an impressive movie.
Oh,
to
yeah,
watch.
absolutely is, yeah.
So
it's impressive
it's
in
kind
scale.
Of, yeah.
Given that the budget was only
Understandable.
55 million.
Wow.
That is impressive. Oh my gosh, but they did so much work.
That money went a long way.
Yeah, it did.
One of the reasons is Tom Hanks didn't take a paycheck to play the role, but what he did get was points on the back end, and he ended up netting about 40 million out of it.
Perfect.
Which is huge. Because it was 55 million. Opening weekend in the USA, it took half of its, 24 and a half, so it took pretty much half of its budget back in the first weekend.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gross in the USA alone was 330 million. Cumulative worldwide was 677 million.
I mean, that's
dollars.
a lot of money.
So it was
Multiply
huge, and it
by
won
7.
Yeah.
How many Oscars did it win?
fantastic.
Oh my goodness, a lot.
Because I know it was Hanks's second, wasn't it, for Best Actor? Let me see if I can pull up what else it won.
While you find that out, I want to ask whether you actually liked Forrest Gump, the character. I think this is one of my larger problems to do with the film.
I don't dislike him.
He's such a walking virtue signal, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he doesn't... You can't hold that against him as a character because he has a low IQ and doesn't know any different. He takes everything that he gets told as at face value.
Yeah.
And that's how his brain works.
But he never really commits any evil. He never does anything that he really wants to, other than...
No, he just follows what other people say, don't they?
And
really?
everything works out for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do feel like watching this now, that, like, now if you made this movie, the message, like, especially because it's about an idiot in a red hat, it would be really like, if you're just stupid and ignorant, you're going to be fine. But if you're smart, then you're going to get yourself into trouble.
Yeah.
And it feels almost like this is how you oppress people kind of a movie, which is weird because, like, I imagine that it was made in the early 90s when, you know, there was obviously stuff going on around the world, like in the Balkans, what have you, but like there was more of a sense of peace in the world in the 90s, I guess. There was like early Gulf War and that kind of stuff, but it felt like a much more calm time than it does now.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
which I think probably colours it a bit slightly.
The United States of America was a safe, quote unquote, country.
Yeah, it was pre 9/11.
Well, you know, I mean, you put your kids on the bus and off they go to school, and you don't think about it.
Especially that part of the country as well.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of awards, just quickly.
Oh, yeah.
It did. Hanks got his second Oscar for the leading role. It took Best Picture, Best Director, Best Writing Screenplay based on material previously published, Best Film Editing, and Best Visual Effects. That was one of the things that was really hyped about it, was the visual effects, I remember. Like putting him in the old footage.
Yeah.
It was nominated for...
I don't think they particularly hold up.
I think
they're fine. They're not great.
Yeah.
The lip syncing, matching, whatever it is they have to do is fine.
It's fine.
It was also nominated. Gary Sinise was nominated for supporting actor.
I thought Gary Sinise was very good.
Yeah. It was also cinematography, art direction, sound, best sound effects, makeup, and original score, but it didn't win those.
Okay.
Interesting.
If you were to just cut the film out, cut everything with Forrest Gump on his own out, and just put Jenny's story in.
Yeah.
It would be
super bleak.
Such a dark,
really dark,
bleak, harrowing film.
Well, and I think that's why, like you said, you have to have this virtuous kind of character juxtaposed against that if you don't want to make a dark film.
Yeah.
Because her story is so tragic, so sad.
Yeah.
She tries to do good, to be good. Mm-hmm. And it kills her.
And she makes choices to try and further her dream every time.
Yeah.
And they're always the wrong way. They end up being the wrong ones.
Well, it's that self-destructive.
Yeah.
You know, some people, when things are going well, they just naturally feel the need to not necessarily consciously do it, but they self-destruct it. Or yeah. Must be very difficult.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And then Lieutenant Dan goes through...
Is it Lieutenant Dan or Lieutenant Dane?
Dan. He goes through such a transformation. We see him at the end, and he's happy and settled and married, and he's got these two great prosthetic legs that I'm sure only millions and millions of dollars can buy you. But through knowing Forrest Gump, he also undergoes a lot of misery.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not Forrest's direct actions, but it seems to be that the people directly around Forrest suffer a disproportionate amount.
Yeah.
Well, they're always impacted by his actions.
Yeah, and they're not necessarily his intentions.
No, but just, because he didn't mean to make Lieutenant Dan feel like he left his men behind.
No.
But he just knew he could save his life.
Yeah.
So that's what he did.
But
and you're like, well,
then went through 10 years of just personal psychological hell.
Yeah.
Rough.
I mean, it's like the post-traumatic stress of that must have just been huge.
Yeah.
And yeah, Forrest Gump never meant, the character obviously never meant for that to happen. He was doing what Jenny told him, again, taking something at face value.
Yeah.
If you're in trouble, don't be brave, just run.
Yeah.
But obviously he's looking for someone, but he just keeps running the whole time anyway.
Because, I mean, I guess with the exception of Jenny's on her own sort of self-destructive path anyway. So I don't feel like Forrest's actions make any difference to her whatsoever. Really.
No, I mean,
until
there's only
the end.
like tiny things.
It's almost like there's a yin-yang of the Forrest Gump world.
Yeah.
And this little boy gets all of the light and Jenny gets all of the dark.
Yeah.
So even when Forrest joins the military, he goes out there to, be a violent, destructive guy, to help his country. Sure. Jenny goes out there to try and save lives, to end the war. You see all the Black Panthers trying to find equality for blacks in America in that era, which was just a huge uphill struggle. And she's just getting beaten and addicted to drugs and abused.
Yeah.
It's so dark.
Yeah.
Because she's the person of anyone in this film who's trying to make the world a better place.
Yeah, and she's just beaten down for it. I mean, literally.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. It's really dark.
Yeah.
And Forrest just lucks into millions and opportunity and success.
Well, this is why I said, like, at the beginning, I do really like this film, but I don't like the feeling I get after watching it.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like, the person that tries to make the world a better place gets punished.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the messaging, as you say, Tom, like, it's kind of unclear what you're supposed to feel.
Yeah.
Like, is this a story of hope? Is this a story of someone who doesn't have opportunity because of their own low IQ overcoming that and having an impact on the world, or like becoming a millionaire?
The story is a horror. It's a real horror story.
And it is really unclear how you are supposed to think and feel. But I think that one of the reasons I like this film is because I watched it later, like I said.
Yeah.
People told me it was a really good film, and I think I like the fact that it makes you think about things. Like, you don't just sit and absorb it. You're not kind of a spectator.
Yeah, you're not like, what a great ride Forrest Gump's on. I'm so happy to be along.
Yeah.
You have to think about lots of things, I think, when you watch this film.
I mean, in like the first 20 minutes, they cover racism, paedophilia, assassination.
Yeah.
And like, that's just setting up the world they're in.
Yeah.
It shows you the darkness.
And it's
like, tells you about it.
And like I said before, then you've got war, and you've got the abuse stuff and the drugs, and like, it does seem to be like, let's make a movie about everything and cram it all into this one thing and use this one guy to tell the story. But then you lose that, like you say, because he just lucks into everything. It's just, like I say, it's just stupidity and luck will get you through life and the American dream.
Yeah.
Whereas working hard and trying to save the world is not going to get you anywhere. Yeah, and that's a weird message to put out.
It was an entire act of God that made him a millionaire, don't forget.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Destroying the lives and careers of hundreds of other competing shrimping boats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that?
And also, you're riding the success of other people's utter misery.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you just got lucky.
No.
I mean, you are literally benefiting from other people's bad luck.
So does that mean Forrest Gump's the villain? Even though he doesn't know it?
I think
because he just causes chaos everywhere
anyone else in the film's perspective, probably absolutely. Can you imagine the frustration that Jenny must have gone through in her darkest times, trying to apply her intellect and her skills to try and make her lot in life better, or even just the world better through her more conscientious years, just to watch Forrest Gump go from strength to strength, succeeding in arenas that she could never touch. With all of her intellect, she could never touch it. It must have been terrible. Lieutenant Dan, certainly. We see him.
I mean, he's definitely Lieutenant Dan's villain. For some of Lieutenant Dan's life.
Yeah.
Like, he is his villain. Because he puts him in this horrendous position that he didn't want to be in, because he wanted to die where he felt he should have been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, with his men.
In his family's tradition.
All of his family die at war.
And
Forrest Gump ruins that and gets the Medal of Honor.
And I mean, how...
And that's one of the moments where they play that. There's certain moments in this movie where they play things for a joke that are quite serious, and it feels weird. Like the Lieutenant Dan's backstory is one of them, where you see all the iterations of his previous line in whatever war it is, whether it's like Korea, Second World War, First World War.
It's like 3 or 4 shots, isn't it?
The American Civil War, and it just goes through them, and and all of these guys dying, and it's almost like a gag.
Yeah, and you're right, because I didn't remember that at all, and then watching it for this, I was like, oh, that makes me feel really uncomfortable, because it's not funny.
Yeah. Like, there's a few moments in it as well, like the Ku Klux Klan bit is kind of played for as a laugh.
Yeah. Because Forrest is making fun of the way they dress, but it's the Klan.
And I know. Because he has no clue of the what he's
or Klux
talking about. He doesn't understand the ramifications of what he's saying about.
He's talking to a black woman on that bench as
where he's come from in terms of like the legacy of his name.
Yeah,
he doesn't grasp that he's talking about like genocide.
Yeah.
And it's it's such a
the more and more I think about it, the weirder this film gets.
Yeah,
but maybe that's why people like it. Maybe that's why.
I'm not sure they do. I think everyone just watches it on complete face value
because
Tom Hanks. He's great.
Tom Hanks,
people like watching it because they like watching a guy win the lottery time and time and time and time again.
He's positioned as the underdog, right?
Yes,
people
absolutely.
love the underdog story.
Absolutely.
And so, maybe that is why. But when you pick it apart and you think about what's actually on the screen...
He's the least underdog of all of them. Really?
Well, in terms of the cards you've been dealt from day one...
Yeah. Lieutenant Dan shows up in the film with a mandate to die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose in terms of your personal assets, though...
Jenny is being abused. She lives in abject poverty in a ramshackle farm.
It's awful, isn't it? Yeah.
And she gets fostered out?
Right. Social services say she can't live there anymore.
Yeah, she gets fostered out.
But what's interesting about that story, though, is that he says her and her sisters.
Yeah.
And they're never talked about. And they're not with her when she's in the car when she goes to her grandma. So I'm like, did they get left behind?
They got separated, likely.
Or they all got separated and they were all in different places?
Yeah.
But she never, you never see her going to see her family, to try and reunite with her sisters or anything like that.
No, but the story's not about her.
Well, no, so that's why it's not in the film.
Yeah. There's always, I remember I used to watch The Dukes of Hazzard a lot as a kid, and the setup in that is you've got the 2 cousins, Bo, Luke, and Daisy as well, so 3 cousins. And then there's Uncle Jesse who looks after them, right? And I always just thought, he's their uncle, and they just live with him.
Yeah. And
it wasn't until fairly recently seeing an interview with one of them, I think it might have been John Schneider who played Bo Duke, just saying, were we supposed to be like his nephew? He just assumed they were his illegitimate children.
Right. Okay.
And that like any time another cousin would turn up, it was one of his illegitimate children. Yeah. And it's like, so there seems to be this the way families would operate in terms of farming out the kids to other relatives, and that kind of stuff was, I think, very common in that time.
Yeah.
For kids to go off and live with aunts, uncles, or grandmothers or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, whoever needed labour, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Do we have like favourite moments? Like, I think we all said we liked the Vietnam
scene
stuff. For me, I really like that.
Yeah, I think so too.
That was done really well.
It is.
If that was if they just did a movie saying Forrest Gump goes to war.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Would have
could
been a quality
make
film.
a great film
I
about
liked
that.
watching him succeed in the military because this is the only time, aside from when we see him as a star American high school running back or whatever he was,
Oh, yeah.
that Forrest Gump's limitations play to his favour.
Yeah. They become his strength.
His strengths, yeah. And that's really nice.
Like when
I
he's
think
stripping the rifle.
Yeah, and I think that's why it works so well, because you're like, oh, he's finally
The drill
found
sergeant's so
a
funny.
place he can call like home, and he fits in, and it works for him because, as we said, like he takes everything at face value. He does what he's told to do. So of course,
all he's good at
fits.
is that he's doing what he's told to do.
Yeah.
So he is an exceptional soldier.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
And
that's
it's
good.
nice to see. It's nice to watch.
Yeah.
And I think it's done really well in terms of like the effects, and it's great. It's what I remember most about the film.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's a bit more bright and colourful than your average Vietnam movie. They tend to be a bit more gritty
more
and
saturation there.
desaturated, and you know, a bit more grim. But then, you know,
Atmospheric, I guess,
this is, you know, is it, what rating is this? Is it a PG?
Do you know? I don't know.
Can't be.
It must be a 12,
right?
surely.
12 probably, yeah. Yeah, it's 12.
Yeah.
And I think probably specifically because of that scene.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say the war scenes, I think.
Yeah.
How did Jenny fall in love with Forrest Gump? Does either of you
I don't
guys
think she
buy
ever
that?
did.
No.
She has sex with him.
I think she
Is it
just
pities him.
sex?
well,
I think she
I think
realizes
she feels safe
that
with him.
yeah, I think she realizes he's a good man at heart.
Yeah.
He would look after her, and he would dote on her and adore her. But he's obviously not her intellectual equal.
Yeah.
I think you're right. He's a safety net.
Yeah. Well, and she's dying.
Yeah,
It's like a child. It's very uncomfortable.
yeah. But I mean, I think it just comes down to the fact that she never, although she needs someone. Well, I say that's wrong. She doesn't need someone to look after her, but having someone who can look after and help her is
And her
probably.
child.
As a virus progresses,
I mean, just
well.
I don't just mean in that part. I mean throughout the entire movie.
He's always there.
She needs someone to support her. Would be a better word,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And she needs that love and support, but he doesn't provide the other stuff that she needs as well, like the excitement and the adventure.
Yeah.
Even though he's off doing his own thing, but to her, that's not what he is or represents.
Yeah.
And
he
it's only
represents
when
safety.
she realizes she's ready, that she needs that, that she goes to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it has to be her. It has to be a choice that she makes because
Exactly,
I mean, he proposes much earlier on in the film,
Yeah.
and then she says, "You don't want to marry me,"
No.
and she knows it because she wouldn't be happy.
Yeah. And I'm not
He
sure
wouldn't
she.
be happy
And
either.
no, because he wouldn't. He wants her, but he would never really have her.
He
in
wants
that
the
way.
idea of her, but he hasn't seen her, when she needs a challenge out of life.
Well, it's
She needs
it's
to
really
push
interesting
herself,
because
push her boundaries.
is it
Yeah.
on? I think it's on IMDb, and
Right.
there's like a synopsis, and it says, "Oh yeah, okay." So the last sentence, of the storyline, which is written by a user, AliW135.
Okay.
Thanks, IW135.
The last line
Wybrew.
says, "Although in the end, all he wants to prove is that anyone can love anyone." And as in Forrest Gump,
Yeah.
Right.
and I'm like, well, I don't know if that's true.
No, I don't think so either.
If that is what he wants to prove, jury's out. Whether he does prove it, absolutely not.
Because, like we've said, Jenny's such a complicated character,
Yeah.
and there's so much going on with her. Like, I don't think it's just a simple, oh, I've now realised that all this time I've been in love with my best friend who's been stood right in
Yeah.
front of me.
Yeah, my
Like,
best friend's wedding this night.
Yeah, it's just not like that at all.
And I think from her point of view, she knows she's dying.
She has a
She's got
child.
his child. He's loaded.
Yeah.
Absolutely no
She has a
brainer.
child to provide for.
Yeah.
It's a purely practical decision,
Yeah.
and
And
maybe she
knows
can
he'll care for her.
exactly, and maybe she's just like, you know what, I'll just let him look after me like he wants to because it'll make him happy.
And that is all he wants to do. He just wants to take care of her.
Yeah.
And like spend time with her.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe there's some sentimental part of her that I don't think it would be love, but I think maybe there is feeling towards him and stuff like that.
I love you.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But I don't think
she loves him as a friend.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I do.
And he loves her like a mum.
Yeah.
Mind you, he does pop a boner.
I don't know.
He does pop a boner.
He does.
I don't know how you would categorize his love for her. She's his best friend. She's the one person in the world, aside from his mum, who, until he goes and he meets Bubba in Vietnam.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, in the military. She is the one person who always wanted to spend time for him and just liked him for him.
Yeah. I think
not because he could run fast or because he could do anything or follow orders. It was just because he was him. She felt safe with him, and I think she's his best friend. Yeah. I don't know if it goes... I don't feel qualified to comment on the extent of his love.
I'm not sure he...
Outside of that.
Yeah, I'm not sure that he would necessarily understand, or see a difference between romantic love or sexual lust.
I see, yeah.
Or I think to him, she's his soulmate.
Yeah.
I think he thinks they're supposed to like
be together.
But for her, not so much.
No.
Yeah.
And at the end, she loves him as a friend.
Yeah.
But not more than that. And it is just a practical decision at the end for her to get married to him. I think that's how it kind of feels to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's far away from that.
Certainly, she needs a father for her son.
Yes.
Yeah. And when you become a mother, like, you can see credit to the actress because she's great in
Robin Wright.
The shift in how she sees kind of, I guess, the world.
Yeah.
Once she becomes a mother.
Yeah.
I think Robin Wright's a great actress.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, she's great.
I think maybe it just doesn't quite. I think it's because you're not telling Jenny's story that maybe she is supposed to fall in love with him. They just don't, because you don't spend as much time with her. It doesn't come across as much.
Yeah,
maybe
that's what it is.
Perhaps.
So favorite characters, we've all said we probably wouldn't pick Forrest Gump.
I don't think so, actually. I think Tom Hanks does an exceptional performance.
I think Tom Hanks is great.
I think Gary Sinise is good.
Yeah, same.
And Lieutenant Dan is a fascinating character.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lieutenant Dan I think is probably because I remember the Vietnam stuff the most from this, I think he's probably my favourite character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like Gary Sinise, Lieutenant Dan. His character almost goes on the exact same journey mine does. I do as the viewer of the film. Where you're like, why is this guy just winning at everything?
Yeah.
Right, okay, I see.
And then towards the end, you're supposed to be like, you're all right.
Yeah.
You're all right, Gump.
Yeah.
I don't quite do that.
No.
I mean, he is all right. I like that analogy, that your view of, as the viewer of Forrest Gump, follows a really similar path to Lieutenant Dan.
Yeah.
Neat.
Yeah, I think in terms of characters, I think Lieutenant Dan's probably the most interesting. Performances, I think Tom Hanks, Gary Sinise, and Robin Wright
they're great.
Yep.
I agree.
They're really good.
So anything we've talked about, what doesn't work, I think, in this.
Yeah, I think you're right. Some of the effects, not so much, and
I think
just
it skips through some plot lines way too quickly.
Yeah,
the whole table tennis thing's almost arbitrary. Cut it.
Yeah.
I'm just surprised at looking back on it, how strange this film feels now.
Yeah. I mean, I think if you made this now, I've not read the book, so I can't comment, but I almost feel like you would make this as like a Netflix miniseries.
Yeah,
and you'd have like an hour-long.
Yeah,
it would be like a drug trip for each thing.
Yeah.
But
I just don't think it works. I don't think it would work today.
No,
there's a level of optimism to it, sort of a naive optimism.
Yeah,
like if the middle of the 20th century was all about finding the great American novel, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the end of it was about making the great American film for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
And that was the optimistic Forrest Gump.
Mm-hmm.
For a country that's been through so much, it has become rich, famous, and powerful. All in, 50 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it did.
It's very odd.
Well,
it's a really odd one.
America almost has the same journey as Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
But America itself doesn't have the kind of the low IQ and the lack of hunger that Forrest Gump has.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Because it's become obsessed about winning.
Yes.
Whereas Forrest Gump never cares about winning. He never cares about the money.
Yeah.
Whereas America has become...
We have to see what happens when Jenny dies and Forrest
itself.
decides to go back to war.
Oof. Wow. I don't want to watch that
Jenny
film.
is the innocence. She's the hippie movement.
Yeah.
She's the innocence of America. And he gets killed off.
Yeah, but then maybe it is a great film about America.
Yeah.
Yes.
We could get a sequel when Forrest Gump's like 70 years old.
Well, there were talks
Doesn't have
of
any
a
clean
sequel.
drinking water.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because there's a second book.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
The second book?
I think it's
Interesting.
after...
I'd kind of be interested in
9/11.
reading that. Post 9/11 Gump. Gump.
I really may have made that up, but I don't think I did.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one. Honestly, when I watched it, I was a bit like, and now I'm just really confused about it.
But the more we've talked about it, I've become more confused about it.
it's
So I think
like
at the beginning, I was like,
yeah.
I like this film.
It's a patchwork quilt of a film.
Yeah.
In an industry where we generally like films to have a pretty solid, steady through line.
I can clarify, screenplay for the sequel was written by Eric Roth in 2001, based on the original novel sequel Gump and Co.,
Right.
written in 1995 by Winston Groom. Roth's script begins with Forrest sitting on a bench waiting for his son to return from school. However, sorry, it's not. This is after. It's not including the September 11, obviously, because it's written in 95.
Yeah.
So it says after the September 11 attacks, they decided the story wasn't appropriate. It says relevant here, but I would assume it's probably not.
Interesting.
I think again, I don't believe in a post 9/11 world. Forrest Gump makes sense as a film.
Yeah.
Tonally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
think
that's
you're right.
probably fair.
Yeah, it's very, very weird.
It's like watching A Dog's Purpose, you know? It's idiots living a great life, and you're supposed to feel okay about that. But
I've just seen on
it's too granular.
I've just seen on IMDb they throw up like more things like this, and the top two listed are Fight Club and Pulp Fiction.
Well, Jenny.
Oh, yeah, okay. But wow, yeah, I wouldn't go there.
It's a very if you look at the right places, if you look in the shadowy corners of Forrest Gump, there is some nigh unparalleled darkness
Yeah.
Yes.
to the film that you wouldn't think of when someone says, "Hey, do you remember Forrest Gump?"
Yeah, and you're right. That's the thing. You don't think of it at all.
Yeah.
Unless you're watching it, and then I guess if you have a chat about it after, and then you're like, oh my gosh, actually that's really tragic and awful and sad. So on that note, is it still good? Is it a good film? I'm going to say I think it's worth a watch.
I think
And I think Tom Hanks is amazing.
I think there's some quality performances. It's a well-made film.
Yeah.
I think it's a fun time capsule.
Yeah.
And yeah, do you know what? I wrote that. I was like, I think it's really interesting, like, playbook of that
Yeah.
historical.
Yeah, kind of reminds you
I
like
can't even get my words out. It's a snapshot of that time.
Yeah.
you ever like think about the Epic of Gilgamesh, the first ever like written story of an adventure of a person, and it was this guy called Gilgamesh, and he went all these adventures, and they mirrored things that happened over the years,
Right.
and that's kind of like what's happening in Forrest Gump.
Yeah, very
like
much so.
so that people would look at this film in 1,000 years and say like, oh, wasn't it crazy this guy called Forrest Gump was at all these was at all these things.
Yeah.
What an amazing character.
So next week, we are going to be talking about the 1984 martial arts film Wheels on Meals, which I have not seen. Adam, have you seen?
I have not, no.
But Tom, I believe you have.
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fire away.
Okay. So there's a whole bunch of 80s movies that we've been doing. And I was trying to think about this. In terms of the 80s movies we've done, the only one that I think had a absolute top-notch, bankable star franchise movie was Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah?
Yep.
You know, we've covered things like Batman, and Michael Keaton was definitely not the bankable choice for that. We've covered Ghostbusters, and they're probably second on the list of bankable stars, I would think, even though, you know, not massively. Footloose, you've got people who are up and coming and that kind of stuff. So I think what's going to be interesting about this is, over in Hong Kong, we've got a movie that stars the 3 biggest stars of that era.
Wow.
So it's kind of like as big as it can get
in
terms of Hong Kong movies. To put that in perspective, at the box office, it took 21 million Hong Kong dollars when Hong Kong had a population of 5 million people.
Ooh.
So that's a pretty big return.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming your average cinema ticket was 4 Hong Kong dollars, that's the entire population have been to see it.
Yeah.
You know?
Wow.
So it was pretty massive. It stars Jackie Chan, Sammo Hung, and Yuen Biao. They were the 3 big names at the time. It's also directed by Sammo Hung. All 3 of them are in Enter the Dragon as bit parts and background artists. And it also features people who, like their 90s movies, might recognise one of the henchmen, who's Benny the Jet Akides, who was in Grosse Point Blank. You've seen Grosse Point Blank?
He's the guy at the end.
He's the ghoul. You know, the ghoul.
Yeah.
And I was just looking up Benny the Jet, and he was his mother was a professional wrestler. His father was a professional boxer. All of his siblings were black belts. He decided to pursue full contact karate at the age of in 1974 when he was quite young. He was born in 1952. He has a record of over 200 wins and no losses.
Oh, wow.
Which you think, but he had 63 title defenses, 57 knockouts. He retained 6 world titles over 24 consecutive years. So this is in the world of like karate and other martial arts as well. He is the longest running world champion in the history of professional sport.
As in all sport?
As in all sport.
Okay.
Wow.
So he plays one of the henchmen. So he's one of the guys that Jackie and Co fight. It's kind of a weird film. It's strange for a Hong Kong movie in that it's not set in Hong Kong. It's actually set in Barcelona. And the basic plot of it is a detective played by Sammo Hung gets hired to find a woman and her child. And his 2 friends, played by Jackie Chan and Yuen Biao, who run they run like a snack van, like a little fast food van. He enlists their help, basically. That's kind of it in a nutshell. And I think it's going to be fascinating because it's going to be very different to a lot of the other 18 movies we've covered. Yet it's like the peak of its time for Hong Kong.
Interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have no idea whether you guys are going to like it or not. I mean, who knows? But yeah, it should be interesting.
Okay. Well, I guess we better go away and watch it and then join us next week and we'll be chatting about whether or not we like the movie.
We like Wheels on Meals.
Wheels on
It's
Meals.
a weird title,
It
too.
does sound like
Do you
a
know
weird
why?
title.
It's because it was made by a production company called Golden Harvest. And up until that point, every time they made a movie that started with the letter M, it was an utter failure.
You're kidding.
So they just swapped the words round.
Wow. Well, all right.
I mean, fair play.
Yeah.
Obviously worked.
It definitely did. Yeah.
Wow. So that's us next week.
I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I'm kind of
We
looking
haven't done
forward to
Jackie
it.
Chan yet.
Yeah.
He's always a very charismatic.
Yeah, it'll be
I
good.
don't know. It's an 80s martial arts movie. I mean, you might find some of it boring. You might find some of it really exciting. You might like some of the stuff. You might not. Who knows?
Going a lot of twitchy short man stunts.
Yeah, some amazing fashions. And for some unknown reason, Sammo Hung decided that a perm is the perfect haircut for this movie.
Oh my God.
Okay, I'm definitely watching it now. So, perms, martial arts.
Yeah.
Barcelona.
In Spain.
Yeah.
And meals on wheels.
Wheels on
wheels. As
meals.
it should be. But wheels on meals for success.
Yeah. There will be a few moments where you just go, ooh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Brill. All right. Well, that's us. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers. Bye.